let's maybe talk about some of the best use cases for serverless then. So you said, it depends on the use case as to when you use serverless and when you use microservices and container-based technologies. So let's run through some of that, some of the differentiations between serverless and microservices based on containers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to keep it simple, anything that requires like a persistent database connection or requires many database connections, especially to relational databases like Postgres or SQL, whatever. Yeah, just don't just like skip the FAS altogether. Unless you have, if I go like really technical in it, unless you have like a proxy API that hooks into your database. But that requires another layer of complexity that often you don't really want, except if that's a use case that you're okay with. Because the problem with functions is that if you run one function, that's basically one API. And if you think about it, that one API needs a connection to the database. And if you're scaling out and you have thousands of functions, then you have thousands of connections to your database. And that's just like an accident waiting to happen. That's just running with scissors, right? You don't really you don't want to do that. It's unnecessary load on the database. It's unnecessary connections, multiple points of failure, multiple points of breaches. So, I mean, just don't really want to do that, right? Unless you're using a database that's a service as well that hooks into that fast ecosystem. Like AWS has DynamoDB, which works fine. Azure has the DocumentDB, or I don't really know what it's called. So any service that can hook into it, it's fine. But that also increases. I mean, you get vendor lock-in there. So if you want to move away from that, you're gonna have a pain. And basically anything that goes with that. So I reckon if you have database connections, to figure something else out. But anything else that has to do with, basically, you can think of it as sidecars. So if you have cron jobs that are running, you don't really need to run that in your core infra. Like if you have a core Kubernetes server that handles your main APIs or your main database handling, you don't really need to run those cron jobs there. You can just like fire a Lambda, right? Or if you have email services or any type of service, an API that you can extract from your core product, great, because you have that one less thing to think about, and that's going to be less of a load on your entire system. So regarding those things, amazing. That's absolutely great. I've one example is I built an email service to get triggered through a Lambda function and another few services through AWS, that when somebody types in a form, I get emailed that response or that question, and then I can just email back that person through any email client. So that's not running anywhere, right? That's not running on a server. That's not taking up any space or any mental capacity for myself to have to focus on actually get that running and keeping it running. It's just there in a function in my account in AWS. So things like that are absolutely amazing, because it takes away all the stress of having to manage it. Unless it's databases, you don't wanna go into that world.
What about managing it at scale? So I get the cron job thing, or infrequently run services functions. You don't necessarily want a service sitting